Good evening, fellow Africans. My name is Smart Mado Ajaja. I am from Nigeria, but I live in the United States of America. I came into this platform barely a month ago, and I came here with an attitude to inspire something new in Africa. But as we move forward, there are two very difficult things, very difficult obstacles that we Africans must overcome. And that is 1. Tribalism. 2. Religious nationalism. Tribalism and religious nationalism are two major obstacles the people of Africa must overcome, with special reference to Nigeria, where I was born 61 years ago. Tribalism, since independence, and religious nationalism has been the bane of the failure to thrive by the country. It's not like the people originally hated themselves. These things were created by the continent's elites in various countries, with special reference here because I'm Nigerian. I don't know exactly what it is in other countries, but I know that the problem exists. There has been this needless rivalry driven by tribalism and religious nationalism. And the reason is because the leaders failed woefully to build a platform for national integration. That is why we are stuck where we are. And I guess that is the reason Africa is finding it very difficult to unite. But again, I'm going to limit this argument to Nigeria, where I was born and where I know very well. Tribalism and religious nationalism are two very repressive creations by the elites of Nigeria to keep their own people repressed enough for them to be their sources of defense against national interests and against the future of the country. If you have been following developments, you have been following my writings, you have been following my speeches on this platform, you will agree and you will see the type of attacks that are related or connected to my posts. You will find out that they are mostly from one tribe in Nigeria. And you will find out that they are mostly from one religion in Nigeria. And that is sad. And they are spiced with some people who are apologists of some elites in Nigeria. And they do that for survival. They come from other tribes, but they are very, very infinitesimal in number as compared to the massive outpouring of attacks orchestrated, sponsored, by those who don't want Nigeria to be one country. Nigeria is a country, like Africa is a continent. If you are in a country that is comprised of other ethnic nationalities, you must understand that those other people have rights to the citizenship of that country. And so you have no right to breathe down on them and expect them not to react. My write-ups, my speeches are highly detribalized because I am a nationalist and a pan-Africanist. I can't come down to the level of those who are tribal nationalists or religious enthusiasts. None of those define me. I am serious about talking about the unity of Nigeria and by extension, the unification of Africa, in line with the vision of our founding fathers, who saw what we are dealing with today over 80 years ago when they were in the trenches fighting for the decolonization of Africa. It will be a huge disservice from you and I. It will be a betrayal on that vision for standing in its way. And this is the reason we must elevate our consciousness above and beyond our tribal and religious inclinations, especially the religious one. They are foreign ideologies, spiced with economics and politics, to keep the people of Africa divided and at war with themselves for the benefit of imperial powers from Europe, China, and the Arabias. Unfortunately, a lot of us, regardless of how educated we are, have not come to terms with this, to understand that there is something wrong, fundamentally wrong. Why am I at war with someone else because of his religious belief? What has religion done for Africa, if not destroying it? What has tribalism done for Nigeria, if not retarding the country? This leadership by tribalism, it is my turn, it is our turn, has been the reason Nigeria is stunted. Nigeria's leadership, and by extension African leadership, is never driven by abilities, competency, courage to do the great things, knowledge, and the exceptional contents of character required to build, to utilize, to expand, extend, and sustain capacity beyond self for the good of the whole people. It has always been that championed by criminals, those who would be prepared to sell their country to foreign interests. That is why we are stuck where we are today in Nigeria. Can you imagine a criminal? Can you imagine a drug dealer? Can you imagine a certificate forger? Can you imagine an identity thief sitting on the presidency of Nigeria? And when someone like me stands up as a citizen of Nigeria to speak, somebody is calling me a Biafran, somebody is calling me an Igbo man, as if Igbos are no longer citizens of Nigeria, assuming I'm one. As if it is the rights of some people from some tribes in Nigeria to continue to hold the whole of Nigeria captive, with the people living below poverty line. When I mean the people, including their own people, living far below poverty line. And these people, they have weaponized to defend their evil, like it is being done here by some very ignorant Yorubas on this platform, with the exception of a few who understands what a country, what nationhood and citizenship means. This is something. These are the two obstacles we must break deliberately if we want to unite Africa and build that United States of Africa that our forefathers dreamed about. with one economy, without borders, with one currency and one army, led by one leader, with integrated leadership across the continent, that will break the back of ethnic domination and give the whole of Africa and the African people a single sovereignty that they must defend fiercely and guard jealously whenever it comes under assault by foreign powers who put up puppets across the continents as their representatives against the interest of the people of Africa and to the detriment of the African continent. You and I have a role to play in this. For over 1,000 years, we have held on to our ethnicities. Now, tell me one, if you are from Kenya, for instance, what being a Kikuyu, what being a Luo, or what being a Kalenjin has done for you. Does your citizenship of Kalenjin give you an international passport to travel the world? Like mine of Ika has never done anything for me beyond that. I speak that language, I am from that place. And so what? Why are we using religious and tribal nationalism to destroy our continent? Over 1,000 years after. And we are still on one spot. Our continent is just only an empire of raw materials that criminals from Imperial Europe will come and harvest at will and get away unchallenged. I am concerned if you are not concerned. I am also ashamed of Nigerians, especially with the population of their country that is supposed to be such an example to Africa, that we are having to debate, we're having to negotiate that a criminal will stay in power after he has been exposed roundly and squarely as a criminal, a U.S. indicted drug dealer, a certificate forger. Everything about him is a lie. We want to defend him because he is from our tribes. So are we really, the Yoruba people in the first place, with the exception of some who are speaking up, with the exception of some like David Hundain, who is country. Yes. So will the Yoruba race accept that they are a race that support evil in Nigeria? Will they accept to be tagged as an evil tribe that loves evil men from their place, that cannot call evil men to in their place to order? I know the Yoruba culture abhors corruption. Do they understand that we are talking about Nigeria and not talking about the Yoruba race? Do the Muslims in Nigeria understand that what is at stake is about Nigeria and not about religion, with a reference to Islam? Why this religious nationalist support for a criminal? That is the question we must answer. Now is the time. Africans. Marcus Garvey said it. Emperor Haile Selassie went to the United Nations and made a very powerful speech. The greatest speech ever made by any nation's head of state on earth. Bob Marley put it into a song. And many Africans after them. at independence saw the unity of Nigeria as a strategic defense weapon against the invasion of the continent by foreign forces. If a few Europeans could come, explorers from Europe, from Portugal, from Britain, could come into Africa and wrote the blueprint for the colonization of Africa, of the African continent, why is it now that a lot of us have gone through their educational system? We understand everything that they did to us. Why is it impossible for us to come together to reverse the damage done to our continent? Why are we clinging to our ethnic nationalities? Why are we clinging to foreign religious ideologies loaded with economics? The story of man and God started with Africans. The story of Jesus Christ was an African story. But these invaders came, stole it, put economics into it, and brought it back to us, and turned us into schizophrenics who don't even know themselves anymore and so distant from reality. And our ministers, so-called ministers of Satan, not ministers of God, keep on expanding this evil message to keep our people repressed, and we say amen to them. The Arabs enslaved Africans for over 700 years. They stole our minds, and we lost control of ourselves to put us where we are today. Why is it that we are not waking up and to ask ourselves questions? Why our 1.4 billion people are the poorest people on earth, regardless of the fact that our continent has over 45% of the earth's resources? You go to Saudi Arabia, it's heaven. You come to London, it's heaven. You come to New York, Washington, they are heavens. Built off of what was stolen from Africa. The same thing, Lisbon, Portugal, and all the Western European countries. France, Paris, Spain. They were all built. Even small Belgium killed over 12 million Congolese to build their Belgium. And we're here fighting primitive, tribal, and religious wars. We should be ashamed of ourselves in this generation if we cannot urgently rally now and come together to set our continent free. Look at our African Union. An African Union that cannot pay its own bills. Every time they want to build anything, they are going to China, they are going to Europe, they are going to America to beg for arms. The same people who steal their country's budgets and take them America, bring them to Europe, take them to Dubai to build mansions that they will never own. They will go begging to build secretariats for African Union. And when they want to hold African Union meetings, you see them coming to bring white people there. To do what? So it tells you that Africa is a plantation that the people of Africa do not own. And we must own it now. And rebuild Africa. Put Africa on the pedestal of development and progress. And end all of its wars. The terrorist act, you see, terrorism all over Africa. They are not Africans. They are not the makings of Africans. Who is arming them? Who is giving them armored gas? who is giving them bombers, who gives them trainings, who provide them logistics. The people who come as friends, that we tell you that they are helping to develop Africa. The people who steal your raw materials and turn around and give you aids. And we are celebrating them. They are the ones behind all these terrorist acts. They train people like you and I to pick up guns, to shoot up our continent as distractions. Why they are stealing our raw materials. The same thing they did to our forefathers. They gave them the Quran on one hand and gave them the Bible. And they were stealing, digging our minerals. Now they have armed some people to start shooting, to scare all of us away, so we cannot ask questions, so we cannot know. You know, but surprisingly, some young people, some of us in uniforms from across the continent, especially Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, and now Niger, came to a realization of what has been taking place, why their countries have remained poor, and they decided to react. And look at what happened, what followed. France is resisting. Can you imagine a foreigner in your country? You are asking to leave. He's telling you that he cannot leave. Why is he not leaving? They have military bases across Africa. Protecting who? They are not protecting your interest. They're not protecting my interest. They're not protecting the interest of Africa. Ask them what they are protecting. They are protecting their own interest. They are protecting raw materials that they steal from the African continent. They exist. They and the terrorists they create, the monsters that they create across Africa, they exist only for economics and nothing more. And this is the reason why we must take the issue of asking them to leave our continent seriously. And this is the reason why we must remove all the puppets from Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Congo, Brazzaville, and anywhere and everywhere they exist in Africa. I tell you that if we expel all of them, send them packing, terrorism will be a thing of the past in Africa. Then we will face our brothers and sisters with foreign guns shooting up our continents. We must unite. We must rise above tribalism. Yes, it's a difficult thing because that's a way of what we have been used to. But let's look back at our history and from some time to now to find out how it has helped us or otherwise. The unity of Africa is extremely strategic to the survival of Africa and the African people. It's not a question of being given a choice. That is the only way out. That is the only choice we have. If we don't do it, I repeat, if we don't do it, our situation will get worse. The imperial powers will not only recolonize Africa, they will come and occupy Africa for keeps. They will alter our population demography, and they will be put up for extinction for them to truly own Africa and whatever is inside Africa. Get this into your head. You are from Tanzania, you are from Kenya, you are from Nigeria, you are from Ghana, you are from Sierra Leone, you are from Liberia, you are from Ivory Coast, you are from wherever, Gambia, you are from anywhere you are in Africa, South Africa, wherever you are, Lesotho. Get this into your head. That if you resist the unity of Africa by the African people, not by the white man, you are putting up yourself for a danger that is already here. So we are better together. Nigeria is an African case. So when I see people saying that they cannot talk about Nigeria because it's a Nigerian thing, well, if you look at the size of Nigeria, if you look at the population of Nigeria, a Nigeria in turmoil, a Nigeria in turmoil, a Nigeria that will break down right now as we speak, it's at the precipice of breaking down. If Nigeria breaks down, half of Africa will go down. Yes. So I was listening to a young man from South Africa. I said, they in the Southern Africa can be on their own. You cannot. You cannot. That is an expensive joke. So the issue of African unity, the issue especially happening in Nigeria, needs an African intervention. Because if we do not, the whole of Africa will suffer the negative impact, which will be very, very tragic. We are not talking about Rwanda. We are talking about Nigeria. We are not talking about Little Gambia. We are talking about Nigeria. So that is why the unity of Africa now is a must. You can imagine what these people did. They created small countries like Gambia. They created little countries like Republic of Benin. They know they don't have the capacity to resist anything. So that's how they scattered the whole of Africa. They are scared that a united Africa will put food off of their table. And yes, that is what it's going to be. They have been taking food off of our table. They have no right to come and do what they are doing, using some of us. So that is why if you are liberated from any country in Africa, you need to wake up and start waking people up. Join the rest of us who are thinking Africa. We have no hate for anybody. What we are saying is that we want to be treated fairly. We want to be on the global stage as a respected people. We want to negotiate business deals like people, not people coming down to hand down whatever they want to us, and then we tell them thank you. Even though we are the owners of what they steal from us. We want a leadership that can industrialize Africa. Not just one term. Recurrent expansion of opportunities for the people of Africa. That's the only way. 1.4 billion people with 70% of it made up by the youths is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So if you're an African young person, you must take this message seriously. If you are a Nigerian, still held in the captivity of tribalism and religious nationalism, you are doing yourself the worst disservice. I am very detribalized. I am a Nigerian. I have right to speak about anything about Nigeria and to a great extent anything about Africa. Because if anything goes wrong, I know it will impact me. I have family members, I have brothers and sisters, I have friends, and I have all of you. It hurts to see people dying in Africa in droves. And we are powerless, we can't do anything. We are waiting for European Union to come and intervene. Don't you see how much money they are putting into Ukraine? Are they putting anything into Africa? That should serve as an instruction to you. You know how much money America is pumping into Ukraine? How much money are they bringing into Africa? Except taking billions from our raw materials that they take without paying anything for it. Now they come back and say, and give us pieces of trash as if we are beggars. We are not beggars. We don't need arms from anybody. We need ourselves. Africa that can stand up for its people. An Africa that can feed its own people. An Africa that can defend its territory is what we are looking for. And that is why we need one army. That is why we need one economy. That is why we need one borderless Africa. And that is why we must unite. Now is the moment. Nigeria, take the lead. Get away from your tribalism. Let the best lead. Not just now, But at all times, we must unite to stop this drug dealer from having his way. Because if he has his way, that'll be goodbye to Nigeria. And if we say goodbye to Nigeria, it will negatively impact Africa. So why can't we be the example that we should be for the whole people of Africa and the African continent? Thank you for listening. God bless you all, and God bless Africa.